Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chesswise. Today we are at the next topic, that is the queenside pawn majority, and we are at the first lesson of the topic. First, let us understand what is a queenside majority. We look at this pawn on c5 and we come to know that it has surpassed its neighboring pawn on d5. So what has happened? If we try to divide the board into three parts, this first we see the central files E and the D files, and there are two sides. F, G and H file contributes towards the king side, and A, B and C file are contributing towards the queen side. So what is happening here is white has an extra pawn on the queen side. From A to B files we see white has 3 pawns, black has just 2. And on the other side, if we try to put as a whole, it is 5 versus 4. So black's majority here we can say is on the king side or in the center. Usually that factor alone itself cannot give good advantage. There are some other reasons associated with the queenside pawn majority. One of the main factors is that the white pawn has already crossed the 4th rank, and what has happened here, he will be able to create a passer very soon. If the same situation cannot happen in the center, usually it's very difficult to push pawns on the king side because the king position will become weak. So what happens here is, by the time we reach the late middle game, we see that the player with the queenside majority has already pushed his pawns and he is ready to create a pass pawn. Same cannot happen with the side who has the majority on the king side. That is why the central break is very important to counter this queenside majority. We see that it's not easily available here because d5 pawn is hanging. Another factor which will play a major role is the control of the e5 square by the white pieces. Along with the pawn majority on the queen side, we often see many other factors playing their role. This position is somewhat better for white because already he has pushed the pawn to c5. He has more space in the center, and as we will see soon, white starts rolling his pawns nicely. White to play it was, white went with the move a3. White has a very simple plan. He will play b4, then a4, then b5, and eventually play the move c6, which will give him a pass pawn on the queen side. After this, black often tries to create an attack on the king side. That is one of the best things that he can do. Let's see what black did in the game. In the game, black went with the move f5. Often the idea is to transfer this rook via f6 and queen can join h4 once castling is done. As soon as black plays f5, he sees that the e5 square has become a strong square for the knight. So white immediately attacks the c6 knight, which guards e5. White wants to take c6 and plant his knight on the e5 square. Black should instantly challenge this idea and play knight g5, so that after bishop c6 he can do knight f3 check and stop the knight from reaching e5. We are going to discuss that idea also, but today first I will show you what happens if the queenside pawn majority is just let to expand. What are the consequences of such a game? I went Ra e8 in one of the other games. White simply takes bishop c6. Here we will also discuss another point today. Whenever bishop c6 is taken, best option is to go bc6 so that before b5 becomes more difficult. Black will play a6. He has one pawn on c6, bishop on d7, so more controls on the b5 square. But after bc6, the bishop on d7 becomes very bad, so it looks more passive. So generally, weaker players opt for the move bishop c6. But this will only allow white to get the move b5 very easily. Let's see what happened in this game. White goes castle, black takes knight c3, rook c3. And we see another factor which is going to play major role. The knight will have an outpost on the e5 square. Here the e5 square is a strong square, a square which cannot be attacked by enemy pawns. There are no pawns on f6 and d6. Black went rook f6. Idea is to go rook h6 and g5. b4, rook f6, a4, a6, stopping the move b5, and white goes with the move qb3. The queen on b3 does multiple things. It helps to go b5, it keeps an eye on the d5 pawn, and the queen and rook can control the third rank, which we will see can be very important point while defending the own king side. Black goes g5. Immediately white plays the move b5, a takes b5, a takes b5, bishop d7, and the knight goes to e5. Already we can make out that the progress made by white is much more than what black has done. Black can merely do the move g4 and try to go with the move queen h4, which we can see easily white will repulse with the move h3. There are enough controls on the h3 square. All white has to do is get the other rook to c1 or b1 and play c6, and he will win the game very easily. So in this game we can say that white won because of two factors. One, the queenside majority, and second, the presence of a strong knight on the e5 square. c6, b takes c6, and here we see another technique. White plays b6, and the pawn on b6 becomes a very dangerous passed pawn. b8, setting a very small and subtle trap. Now it looks like the move rook c6 wins very easily, because bishop c6, knight c6, it's a knight fork, and after queen e8, knight b8, q b8, white can go rook c1 or b7 when he wins the game very easily. But here comes the move q d6 when the knight is attacked and there is mate on h2. So in a winning position also one has to be very careful. White goes with the move b7. Bishop e8, instant queen h4 does nothing but allows h3. After gh3, rook h3, and white will get a winning position. Queen is attacked, the bishop is hanging, and also the rook will be attacked by the rook on h3. Bishop e8, rook b1, q h4, h3, and the queen goes back to e7. And here white simply plays knight takes c6. Bishop takes c6, rook takes c6, black goes rook f6, rook c8 check, rook f8. White has multiple plans over here. White went with the strong move queen c3. If rook takes b7, then rook f8 check. If queen takes, rook is hanging. If king takes, then queen c8 check, and the b7 rook is lost. Black tries q d6, rook takes b8. Here the best move would have been q b8, but we see how passively the queen acts over there. White can just go hg and transfer his queen from e3, can threaten queen g5 and queen e6. Black went rook b8, queen c8 check, king f7, and the simple move rook c1. It's game over. There is no defense to the threat of rook c7. After kg6, rook c7, black resigned in the game. The example we saw now, it was not of the best quality, but we saw how to exploit the move bishop c6. I hope you are finding these lessons useful and instructive. Thanks for your time.